Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time it's an episode of Talking Trailers. This is not a series I'm going to be doing all the time. This is a break glass in case of emergency type of thing. And the emergency here is I have months of trailers that I've yet to give my thoughts on. So instead of talking about them in a extra long episode of Talking Cinema, I decided to split it into its own video. So without further ado, without further blabbing, let's get right down to it. So the first trailer I want to talk about is the teaser for Disney's new Rocketeer cartoon. I think it's going to air on Disney XD or Disney Channel. I know it's one of their channels that this is going to come out on. And initially, I was really pissed off at this because I was like, what the fuck is this bullshit? This is cringe-inducing. This is fucking pathetic. It's a 10 to 12-year-old girl wearing a pink jacket and a lame-looking purple helmet flying around in the sky saying, "Never fear, the Rocketeer is here!" And it's just like, oh my god. And I was just like, this isn't the Rocketeer. This is a bunch of fucking bullshit. And I still feel that way. This is bullshit. So, you know, there are different versions of heroes out there. So there are like kid versions of heroes. Like, for instance, Superboy. But Superboy doesn't fly through the air saying he's Superman. See what I'm getting at? This is a rare instance where they took an established IP and a character and they just slapped a jetpack on a 10 to 12-year-old girl, gave her a pink jacket and a purple helmet, and said, she's the Rocketeer. I'm sorry, I don't fucking buy it and I'm not accepting it. Not because she's a girl, not because she, it's one of those things. Like some people are, oh, because she's a girl. No, it has nothing to do with gender. If it was a Hispanic, African-American 10 to 12-year-old girl, I'd still have an issue with that, and that would have nothing to do with the fact that she's of a different race either. It has to do with living up to the integrity of the character. The Rocketeer in the comics is an adult. Period. If you wanted to have an adult female, I'd actually warm up to that. Even if you wanted to go a little bit further back and maybe have him be a teenager, I could maybe deal with that too. But here, a 10 to 12-year-old girl flying around saying she's a Rocketeer, no, that's bullshit, and I don't buy it at all. It's like, if you had an Iron Man cartoon and you had this 10 to 12-year-old girl who puts on an Iron Man suit that's pink and purple and is flying through the sky with her jet boots saying she's Iron Man. You would think that's bullshit, wouldn't you? I would definitely think you'd have an issue with that. This is a total fucking bastardization of this character. And I am upset and I am a little bit angry, but I'm not as angry as when I first saw the trailer. To me, it's just annoying. It's annoying that Disney is wasting the Rocketeer with such a complete and total waste of space and time like this cartoon. I don't care that Bill Campbell's involved. That doesn't matter to me. It doesn't make it worth watching, and it doesn't make it worthwhile just because he's involved and he's the voice of her dad or whatever. He could even be Cliff Secord and it wouldn't matter to me. Another thing, too, it doesn't live up to the integrity of the aesthetics of the comics that Dave Stevens created. It looks like it's not even taking place in the 30s or the 40s or even the 50s. So what's the point? Why have the Rocketeer and then not even have it take place in the past? It doesn't make any sense to me. I personally feel Disney missed out on a prime opportunity to have a new animated series in the style of Dave Stevens' comics that takes place in the 30s and 40s, with Bill Campbell returning to voice Cliff Secord, and a series of different adventures that are adaptations of some of the adventures in the comics, as well as some new ones in the vein of Captain America. Disney's all about Marvel. They have all these Marvel properties, and it just doesn't ring. I just don't get it. I don't understand why they chose this route over the route that, to me personally, is a much better route to take. an animated series that's for teens and adults based on the Rocketeer comics that could have premiered on Disney Plus. That would have been received way better. Also, what audience are they trying to appeal to? Did they even do any market research? Because if they did, they would see that the majority of the fan base that's already established for the Rocketeer wants nothing to do with this cartoon. That's not what they want. That's not what they're asking for with this IP. You couldn't even give us a collector's edition Blu-ray with the commentary track with Joe Johnston or interviews with Bill Campbell or any of this stuff. You gave us a bare bones bullshit anniversary edition, and then after all of these years, the Rocketeer gets a new thing. There's some new adaptation of the Rocketeer, and it has almost absolutely nothing to do with Dave Stevens' comics. It's just some bullshit fucking creation that you pulled out of your ass and slapped some sparkles on it, and now you're trying to be like, hey, here we go, here's the new Rocketeer for the new generation. No, we don't need a new Rocketeer for the new generation, especially if it's a 10 to 12-year-old fucking kid. So anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts on Disney's The Rocketeer. I thought this was going to crash and burn because I thought it was never going to happen. Because I remember reading about it, and then I didn't hear any news about it for months, so I thought it was never actually going to happen. But sadly, it is a reality. It's going to last maybe 1 to 2 seasons, and then rocket off into oblivion, and nobody's going to remember it. Nobody's really going to think that much of it, and it's going to have no lasting legacy, which is why it is absolutely pointless to me that they went this route. It's completely dumb. It's a waste of resources, and it's a waste of an IP. So anyway, that's my rant on the Rocketeer. Disney's The Rocketeer. Want to talk about the teaser for the Kingsman. I thought it looked pretty good. I'm not really super big on prequels, but this actually looks kind of interesting to me. Definitely looks pretty impressive in terms of cinematography and the direction. I'll definitely give that a shot sometime. So another trailer I want to talk about is a movie that came out, I think, this week that I'm definitely going to check out sometime, called Don't Let Go. I really like this trailer a lot. I thought it looked like it had some really good performances. The idea is similar to Frequency when it comes to dealing with events that occurs and then having a way to communicate to try to prevent it from happening. But in this instance, it's different enough that it feels like it's its own thing. So what you have in Don't Let Go is there's this cop who, his niece, she gets murdered along with her family, and then through divine intervention or some sort of way, he's able to communicate with her, but with her from like a week before the murder. So he's in present day, and then he's able to communicate with her, so he's going to try to figure out a way to stop this crime from happening. And I like it. I think it looks interesting. I think the idea is intriguing, and I think it looks like a pretty good movie. The fact that it's similar to Frequency isn't a problem to me because it's not the exact same plot. I like ideas, I like films where they take older ideas and older concepts that have been done before, but then put their own spin on it. And this is one of those films. So it's not another remake, it's not another prequel or sequel or reboot. So that in itself is already a good thing. Playing with fire, playing with fire crotch is really what you're doing if you decide to watch this movie or this trailer. Wow. John Cena's always been a charisma void for the most part, but I didn't mind him in Blockers. But here, he is absolutely horrendous. He has no screen presence. He's not funny. And then you have Keegan-Michael Key. What are you doing, man? Was the Predator so fucking shitty that it ruined your career? Like, why are you in this? And then Brianna Hildebrand, who was in Tragedy Girls and Deadpool 2, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, she's in this too? Like, you couldn't find any better work than this fucking lazy-ass, shitty Nickelodeon comedy? So yeah, it's comedy about these smoke jumpers who have to learn to take care of some kids. It's a cliched fucking bullshit. It's like The Pacifier, but with smoke jumpers. And I mean, John Cena can't even carry Vin Diesel's jock. And Vin Diesel isn't really the most charismatic guy either, but he has way more charisma in The Pacifier than John Cena does in Playing with Fire. We have Good Boys. I know that came out recently. I never liked any of the trailers for this. I thought it looked unfunny. It's just a bunch of edgelords, a bunch of edgy humor that, to me, I'm getting way, way too tired of. Like, I'm really sick of this type of humor. It's really, to me, it's gone way past its sell date. All these modern comedies are trying to be the next Hangover, and they're falling flat in their ass. This is another example of that. Oh, it's hilarious because it's a bunch of kids who are, talking shit and talking about sex and drugs and shit. I mean, if I want to see that, I'll just watch Superbad. And that looked like it had that has genuine heart to it. That made those other crass stuff still work. This looks like it doesn't have any genuine heart to it. It's completely artificial. Speaking of completely artificial, Cats. What the fuck was that? What a horror show. Like the CGI in that with the people's faces and stuck on CGI cat bodies is straight out of nightmares. It is nightmarish. It's one of the scariest looking films of the year, if you ask me. I never really cared for Cats, never was really a big fan of the musical, so I'm not really looking forward to this anyway, but holy hell, like the visuals and the CGI is just, it's too far into the uncanny valley for me, and it's one of those things that I don't think I'd be able to stand watching the movie just because of that, because it would just make me feel way too uncomfortable, because it's just, and also, they have human noses and like human lips, but they have cat bodies. I think that's another thing too. It's like they don't even give them cat noses. Like even so, it's like it's this really weird Island of Dr. Moreau kind of thing going on. So yeah, not feeling that at all. Another thing I'm not feeling is the Jay and Silent Bob reboot. I am not as big of an expert on Kevin Smith as my friend Matt is, but from a complete outsider's perspective, from a guy who's only seen like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back a few years ago, this looked awful. This looked completely unfunny. It looked tired. It looked lazy. It looked like a film where they're just trying to cram as many cameos in as humanly possible to try to make up for the fact that the script is shit and there isn't a whole lot of really genuinely good jokes, so we're just throwing all these fucking cameos. Yeah, I just wasn't sold on it at all. It did not make me laugh one time. But a trailer that I was sold on from Comic-Con is Top Gun Maverick. I fucking loved this trailer. I am a huge fan of Top Gun. I love Top Gun. I grew up watching Top Gun on VHS, listening to the soundtrack, which is my favorite soundtrack ever. And even I was extremely leery of this sequel when it was announced. Because I was like, what's the point? Do we really need another Top Gun? Like, what are we going to do here? It's too little, too late. It's been 20 years or longer since the last one. Like, why do we need another Top Gun? Then I saw this teaser, and I saw how visually stunning the footage is. I saw that Tom Cruise looks like his crazy ass might actually be in a fucking plane flying it. And then I was like, I'm sold. Like, I've seen this trailer like 5 times by now, and each and every time it still gives me chills. It still blows me away. It looks absolutely stunning in terms of visuals. There's next to no CGI in it, which is really nice to see. Tom Cruise looks like he's going to bring it as usual. It's going to be really nice to see him as Maverick again. Really liked the remix of the Top Gun theme by Harold Faltermeyer. It had enough moments in the trailer that inspired or instilled some nostalgia, but then there was enough new stuff in it though that really got your blood pumping and really got you excited for it. So I'm not going to watch any more trailers because this teaser is one of the best teaser trailers I've seen in a long time, and it just did everything that it could have possibly done to get me hyped. And I am done. That's all I need. I don't need any more trailers. Yeah, I mean, I can totally buy Tom Cruise actually learning how to fly a fighter jet. He's a fucking crazy man. I could totally buy that. And he's one of the producers for the film. So I could totally see the producers for, for Paramount and other people being like, "Hey Tom, like, man, we don't want you to fly a fighter jet. It's too dangerous." It's like, "That's right. I'm dangerous. I'm flying the fucking plane." So, I've heard some people who actually are fighter jets who work, who actually have flown jets, say that it looks like he's not actually flying. And if that's the case, all right. But they're still doing a really good job showing the footage and actually making it appear as if he's actually flying the jet. So, but then again, like, I'm not going to put it past Tom Cruise. I mean, he's done some crazy ass fucking shit in the Mission Impossible films. He's done a lot of his own stunts. I would not put it. It would not surprise me at all if I would find out that he actually did fly a fighter jet with supervision and training and so on and so forth. Because he's a guy that has enough clout and he's crazy enough to do that. So yeah, I am really, really looking forward to Top Gun Maverick. It flew right to the top of my most anticipated film list of 2020. Like, I am all in on Top Gun Maverick. 21 Bridges, I'm not really impressed with this film or this idea. It looks like it's going to be a decent performance by Chadwick Boseman. Here's the problem with this movie. It looks incredibly generic. You can throw in the Russo brothers' name in the trailer all you want to, but it still looks like an incredibly generic police thriller. This looks like a movie that would have been made in like the 90s or 2000s, and it seems like a script that maybe they dusted off from back then that was intended to be a Denzel Washington vehicle. But then Denzel was like, "I'm not really in for it. It seems a little bit too generic for me. I want to branch off and do something a little bit different than these crime police thrillers." And it just collected dust for years until recently when the Russo brothers dug it up and did some rewrites. That's really what it seems like. It seems like a generic police thriller that you've seen done a million times. So yeah, I'm not really into that one. Gemini Man, I like the original trailer, the first trailer, more than the second trailer, because I don't like the rap music choice they did for the second trailer. But that being said, I'm going to check out Gemini Man. I like the concept. I like the idea. It interests me enough to go see it. And I have to be honest, the CGI of young Will Smith is some of the best I've seen to date when it comes to doing that de-aging thing. Like, there's a lot of different shots that I've seen in this trailer, and in the first trailer, that it's really hard to tell that it's CG, and that's an impressive job. Well done. There are shots though where he's in movement where you can tell it's a CGI model, but there's other instances where it's really hard to tell. And I like the idea overall concept of an older, grizzled veteran Will Smith going up against a genetically engineered younger version of himself. So yeah, it's one of those movies that I'm definitely curious about. I don't know if I'd see it in the theater, but it's a film that I'd probably check out when it's available on home video. Zombieland Double Tap. That's another one I was like iffy on because it's so many years later, but I enjoyed the trailer. I think it looks like a fun sequel. You got all of the original cast coming back. You got some crazy shit like a monster truck. You got some new people involved who are coming in with the cast. I like the fact that it's not pulling any punches. It's not afraid to be controversial. I like that about it. Like, it has a ditzy blonde character in it. So it's also a movie that just looks like fun. So it's some nice practical effects, and looks like it's going to be a fun time. So yeah, I am looking forward to Zombieland Double Tap. It looks like a fun movie. The Hunt. I'm going to keep it short and brief because I want to save more in-depth thoughts on The Hunt for Talking Cinema. I liked the trailer for The Hunt. I saw it before Crawl in the theater. I liked what I saw. It looked like a horror version of Hard Target, and I was curious about it. I thought it had a potential to be a good satire, but also a nice, different, not necessarily, I don't difference the right word, but a little bit of a new spin on The Most Dangerous Game, with some politics thrown in there and gore and stuff like that. So, and I liked the lead girl. It looked like she was going to kick some ass, and and it was one of those things that I was definitely looking forward to. I was looking forward to the film, and then circumstances that are completely out of the filmmaker's control or the film's control happened. We had the shooting, we had another mass shooting, and because of that, and some vague statements by the president about films being racist, which honestly, there's nothing racist about this trailer. Universal got cold feet, they pussied out and pulled the film. And there are people who support the decision and to each their own, but there's other people like myself that are like, that's fucking lame. And yeah, it's been shelved indefinitely. And it's too bad because it actually looks like a fun movie. And I think a lot of the people who got their balls or their, pussies twisted when it came to the content of the film really looked way too deep into the trailer and were making all these assumptions about its plot, about how it's going to go down. And I think they completely missed the point that it's intended to be satire. So I guess, and now in today's political climate, folks, you can't make a satire about politics because people are going to get all butthurt about it and won't be able to take a joke. Which I find ironic since a year ago there was a film called The Oath, which had a similar kind of politically charged plot line that I saw and I really enjoyed, to be honest. I actually do recommend that one. It was one of my favorite films from last year. And it arguably is hitting even harder, and even more close to home than The Hunt. And there wasn't nearly as much controversy, wasn't nearly as much bitching, and there weren't people saying, "Oh, the oath should be removed entirely from home video because it's too controversial." And I'm going to echo some of the statements my friend Matt said in a great rant that he did on this. Life is hard, and and the world is violent. It's a violent, harsh, mean and nasty place, and it'll beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. So, films that deal with violence and politics should not be off limits just because some people can't handle it. They can't handle it, it pops their bubble, and it breaks through their safe spaces. We should not be self-censoring or not allowing certain types of content or films or stories to be told because we're afraid of offending people or making people feel uncomfortable. And it should have absolutely fucking nothing to do with current events, because these filmmakers and these writers, they have no control over what happens after they make their film. And we should not be looking at, well, there was a mass shooting, so we can't have films that have shootings in them or plot lines that some crazy fucking psycho might look at and get inspired by. Because you know what, folks? These crazy fucking psychopathic shooters, they're going to get inspiration no matter what. It doesn't matter what it is. It's like people blaming video games and movies for violence and for these people who do these horrendous, heinous acts. The films are not to blame, and neither are the video games. The person who pulls the fucking trigger and comes up with this concept to kill people, that's the person who's to blame. You don't blame media for the actions of individuals. It's a fucking cop-out. So anyway, there's my rant on that. I was kind of, like I said earlier, I was thinking about saving it, but you know what? I couldn't save it because I've been having that building up in my chest for a few months now, and now I've let it out, and I feel a lot better. So now let's talk about another trailer, The Irishman. The CGI on De Niro and Pesci, de-aging them is a little iffy. But overall, I'm interested. I'm all for it. Scorsese, De Niro, Pesci, Pacino. Like, that cast is out of this world, and I'm curious about it. I think it looks like a pretty solid drama, and I like the casting choices, and Scorsese's done a lot of great films, so and it's nice to see Pesci working again, and that's honestly the biggest reason why I want to see it, is to see Pesci again. So yeah, I am definitely on board with The Irishman. I don't get the people bitching though about how, well, De Niro's not Irish, so why is he playing the Irishman? First off, he's 75% Irish. So he is actually mostly Irish. So if you actually did some research on his genealogy, or, his history, you would find out that De Niro actually is more Irish than he is Italian. So all these people bitching about De Niro being miscast because he's not Irish, you're fucking wrong, and you need to go do some more research, because he's 75% Irish. That's pretty. That's a good amount of Irish. I think he's Irish enough to play the Irishman. And regardless, also, since when have we only casted actors to play Irish individuals or Irish characters based on whether they're Irish or not? Like, give me a break. We should not go down that road either. Oh, such and such cannot play such and such character because they're not Irish, or they're not gay, or they're not this, or they're not that. It's about the best actor for the role. Period. That's what it's about. It's not about what their nationality is or any of that. Unless we're talking about race. Like, we don't need to have a white man play an Asian man, or a white man play a black man, unless there are, like, it's, there's a little, Tropic Thunder is like the rare exception where that can work, but it's because it's a satire, it's a joke, and it's something that is not meant to be taken seriously, and you're not trying to be like, well, he is a black man. No, he's a white man playing a black man. And it is controversial, but it still works out okay because of the intent. But yeah, other than those instances, like, let's not try to, like, restrict casting to someone's sexuality or to their nationality. Like, let's not do that. It's about who's the best actor for the role. Period. End of discussion. 1917. I'm not really that big on war films, but I'm kind of curious about this because it's a World War One movie. And it's a World War One movie on a large scale. And most of the time you see war films, they're World War Two movies or Vietnam. And so it'll be refreshing to see a World War One film with this kind of size and scope. Little Monsters has nothing to do with the Howie Mandel movie. This, to me, it looks like it could be fun, but I didn't really laugh during the trailer, so I think that's going to be a little bit of an issue. But I don't mind the concept. Lupita Nyong'o plays a school teacher who has this group of kids on a field trip and in the middle of some zombie outbreak. And so she's got to try to keep the illusion that everything's okay, not to freak out the kids, but also try to stay one step ahead of the zombies and survive. Okay, all right. But there's a lot of critics in the trailer, who are quoted, and they're trying to act like it's some original, unbelievable idea that is completely puts the zombie genre on its head. And I'm like, did you not see the movie Cooties? Because to me, like, and Cooties, to me, that did something even crazier than what this movie is doing. Because I highly doubt any of the kids are going to be zombies. In Cooties, the kids were zombies. And that was something that was pretty damn unique and out there. And I really enjoyed Cooties. If you haven't seen Cooties, definitely check it out. I think it's a really underrated film. I think it's a gem. It's a modern day gem. It's got a solid cast. It's got a good script. It's got a good amount of gore. And it's got a ballsy idea. Zombie kids. And they're not fucking around in that movie. Like, the kids are getting fucked up. And you know what? I'm okay with it because they're fucking zombies. And, in this genre, anything should be fair game. So this just being like regular adult zombies, it's kind of like a play it safe version of Cooties. But that being said, it does have practical effects, and I do like Lupita Nyong'o, and it's a film I'll give a watch someday down the road. But it's not a movie I'm like, oh my god, I have to see it. But it's a movie that, yeah, it looks decent. There's a new Addams Family movie coming out. It's CGI animated. And it's done in the style of Despicable Me, which I'm not really a fan of that animation style, so that off the bat's really not a good sign. Also, they have Cousin It, and Cousin It is just acting like a minion, which I don't like seeing. The humor is way too predicated upon pop culture. I understand that the other Addams Family films, they had some pop culture references as well, but I don't remember the jokes being as on the nose as the one here where they're making an it joke, about a red balloon. Oh, isn't there usually a murderous clown at the end of these? Um, and I hated the rap song that was used for this trailer. And I know the animation style is based on the Charles Addams comic strips, but I just don't like that style. I don't think it really translates too well to animation or live action. I prefer either the Hanna-Barbera style or the way that the Addams Family looked in the Barry Sonnenfeld films, with Raul Julia and Angelica Houston and Christina Ricci. And I just think it's a missed opportunity not to have Tim Burton do his take on the Addams Family. I know he was originally attached to a project, he was originally going to do something, and then something fell through, wasn't able to get it done. And I get it, people get busy and whatever, but I think it's just waited for Tim Burton, because I think Tim Burton's take on the Addams Family would have been better than whatever this take is, and definitely would have been something that would have gotten more audiences interested in it. I think this is not going to do that well. I think it's going to be an underwhelming film in terms of the box office and with critics. And that's too bad, because the Addams Family deserves better than that. If it ends up being a pretty decent movie, I'll be one of the first to admit it. But from what I've seen in the trailer, it just really isn't doing much for me. And I'm really not looking forward to it. A film that I am looking forward to, though, is Dolomite Is My Name. It's really great. And it is really nice to see Eddie capture that spark of the old Eddie again. Because you can see that he's having fun in this trailer. He's got a legitimate, big, wide Eddie smile on his face. And it looks like a fun movie. It's got a great cast. Wesley Snipes, Craig Robinson, Mike Epps. And I like the idea too. It's essentially a biopic about Dolomite, and Eddie looks like he's having a blast, and because of that, I am really looking forward to it, to see Eddie be Eddie again, not the sad sack Eddie that we've seen previously. The Eddie who's got a smile that could light up the night, and this personality and charisma that could just take over the screen, and it looks like there is that Eddie, that there's a little bit of that Eddie breaking through in this trailer, and that just really gets me going, because as much as I've ragged on Eddie Murphy, as much as I've had issues with a lot of his recent content, I love prime Eddie Murphy. He's one of the funniest motherfuckers on the planet, and I really think that he could still capture that comedy and still capture that spark. And it looks like he might be able to do it here. I love the stuff where he's like, was it better than Shaft? Is it as good as Shaft? It's really just nice to see that Eddie again. And it's not going to be for kids either. This is a film for adults, because I think it's going to be rated R or TVMA or whatever. But yeah, it's just one of those things that, yeah, it looks like a fun movie. It definitely does have me interested. I mean, even the thumbnail has Eddie with his signature smile, and it doesn't look fake. It doesn't look like he's having a hard time here recapturing that energy, which is something that Jim Carrey had a really difficult time doing in Dumb and Dumber 2. And I'm not seeing the same thing here with Dolomite, which is really nice to see. I'm getting kind of some Bowfinger vibes with this too, which I don't mind because I really enjoyed Bowfinger. I think it was one of Eddie's last great comedies. Then we have Underwater. This is Leviathan. This is a remake of Leviathan. It really is. You have an underwater mining team, and they uncover something underwater, and it's a monster, or it's a creature that they have to fight off, and it looks incredibly underwhelming. I'm not really buying Kristen Stewart as the lead. It's PG-13, which is a red flag. It doesn't even do a dry for wet thing with the underwater stuff. It's all CGI and behind a green screen, and it looks really fake. And yeah, I just I like the fact that, oh, it's another underwater horror movie. We're doing another one of those, but the title's incredibly generic, underwater, like really. And then the overall plot does nothing for me. The only difference between it and Leviathan is that it's not a genetic experiment in some vodka. It's some other monster or whatever that's in the down below in the ocean, on the ocean surface, and they've just unleashed it. So yeah, it's just I don't. It's nice to see another underwater movie, but this just looks like a half-assed Hollywood remake of Leviathan. It really does, right down to even the suits that they wear. Antlers. I love this teaser trailer. I don't know precisely exactly what this film is about, but that's a good thing. Visually, it looks impressive. I love the cinematography. I like the overall concept. It's just weird and crazy enough that it's really grabbed my attention. Looks like there's some practical monster creature effects in there, and you got a kid who's in danger, which is a kind of sort of a unique take on things. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to Antlers. Del Toro, I think, is also involved with it in some capacity. So yeah, interested in that one. Rambo Last Blood. The teaser trailer, the more I watch the teaser, the more I warm up to it. I never really hated the teaser to begin with. I actually like the Old Town Road remix that they used in it. And I do think that it looks like it has some potential. But that being said, this recent teaser sucked. I hated this teaser trailer. The recent trailer that they came out with Rambo, just trying to do way too much of nostalgia porn with footage from the other Rambo movies, and I just there was no new sequences in it that really got my blood pumping. Except for a little bit of line of dialogue from Stallone where he's Rambo that kind of reminded me of some of his other more intense lines of dialogue. But none of the extra bits of action were anything that was really anything different than what we saw in the teaser. So yeah, I'm leery about this one. I personally feel it's going to be mediocre. I don't think it's going to be a total piece of shit, but I'm leery about it because if it's just mediocre, then what's the point? Why do we need another Rambo film if we're just going to get a mediocre Rambo movie? This should have been a standalone. I still stand by that. I think it should have been a standalone film about Stallone playing some ex-cop who retired, who has his niece get kidnapped by the cartel, and he decides to save her. And that's really what it should have been instead of another Rambo movie, because it doesn't really look and feel like a Rambo film. He doesn't even have his long hair. So it's one of those things where it just feels like a Stallone movie, but but we slap the Rambo title on it because that's what gets butts in seats. That's really what it seems like. But we'll see. We'll see. Ad Astra, I haven't watched any more trailers because I've seen, I think, 2, and that's enough because I really liked what I've seen. I'm curious about the movie. I'm looking forward to it. I like the cast, Tommy Lee Jones, Brad Pitt, and I like the idea of a son going to find his father and trying to see if he's the one that has this potentially devastating weapon that could destroy the universe. I like the fact that you have that conflict right in the middle of everything. Bombshell, it's a film that's going to be, I guess, about a Fox News scandal or something. I like the teaser because it was very ambiguous. And I like the cast. Charlize Theron, Nicole Kidman, Margot Robbie. So, I don't. It's not something I see in the theater, but I'll give it a watch sometime because the teaser did enough to get me interested in it. Jexy, Adam Devine, I'm not really sold on as a lead. I don't really like him that much. I think he's really not that great of an actor. But I like the overall idea. It's a smartphone named Jexy who has a mind of her own and decides to make this guy's life a living hell. At first, she helps him break out of his shell and start dating and find someone. But then she gets jealous and then starts doing all kinds of crazy shit to try to fuck with him. And the smartphone is voiced by what's her name? I really like her. She's one of my favorite. Rose Byrne, who's one of my favorite current actresses. It's not something I'd seen in the theater, but I'll give it a watch sometime. It looks like a Black Mirror episode that's stretched to a feature length or an SNL sketch. Really, it looks like an SNL sketch. It's like an SNL sketch that's stretched to feature length, and I don't know if that's really going to work. Don't give a shit about Lady and the Tramp, because I don't really care about these live-action remakes that Disney is doing. Noelle looked horrible, and apparently Noelle is a film. It's got Anna Kendrick in it and Bill Hader. It's a movie that Disney intended to release in theaters, but they saw it and were like, this is pretty bad. And because of that, they're just going to release it direct to their new streaming platform. Because they knew it was crap. And it looks like crap. I didn't think it was good enough for a theatrical release. Speaking of shit that looks like crap, Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, the new teaser trailer. You know you're in trouble when a majority of the teaser is just Disney throwing out footage from the original trilogy. And it honestly is kind of insulting because it's like, hey, look, there's Luke Skywalker. Hey, look, there's Han Solo. Remember them? Oh, yeah, I do. And you know what I also remember? That you fucking killed them off in the lamest way imaginable. You fucked up their characters. You killed them off and made them look like fucking bitches and told fucking pussies. Yeah, I remember that. I remember those characters. But I also remember what you did to them. Oh, and thanks for reminding me of films that are 10 times better than any of your Star Wars movies are. Including this new one that you're advertising. It even made the prequels look better. I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'd rather watch the prequels. And then they show the new footage, and it looks worse than any of the prequel footage they showed or the original trilogy footage. You have what looks like the, I guess, Disney Star Wars equivalent of Burning Man. Action that does nothing for me. Rey training again. With a look on her face. It looks like she's about to take a shit. Then you have the shot that everyone's talking about Dark Rey. She's got a cloak on. She's got a black cloak on. And she's got this stupid fucking double-bladed lightsaber. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, this is stupid. What is this lightsaber made by Gillette? Oh, new Gillette's lightsaber fusion. It's got 2 blades instead of 1 lightsaber for the closest shave. It's like this fucking dumbass fucking bullshit. It's impractical and it's dumb looking. So she's got 2 blades. It's a lightsaber she's holding that has 2 blades on it, and then she flips it and it turns into a double-bladed lightsaber like Darth Maul. Like, this is dumb and impractical as hell. And it's not even cool looking. It really isn't. And then everyone's like speculating about this dark. You know she's not going dark. You know she's not going to the dark side. She's Disney's newest princess. It's a vision. It's a vision like Luke saw in Empire Strikes Back when he went into the tree and he saw his face in Vader's helmet. That's all it is. It's a vision or a nightmare. Guaranteed. And sadly, these Star Wars movies are fucking nightmares, if you ask me. It's already been confirmed that she's not gonna go to the dark side, folks, because already it's too late to do that. If you're gonna do that, you should have done it in The Last Jedi. They're not gonna do that in the third film and the final film in the trilogy. Also, it's been confirmed it's not gonna happen because in one of Disney's new rides at Galaxy's Edge, she's good. So yeah, not happening. So can your theories about Rey being evil and Kylo being the hero not happening at all? So yeah, that's my thoughts on the Rise of the Skywalker D23 trailer. I got one more film I want to give my thoughts on, one more trailer, actually another one after that, and then I will call it I'll call it a day when it comes to this video, which is already clocking in at over 40 minutes. And I'm also running out of energy. So, and you could probably tell. But anyway, the next trailer I want to talk about is Joker. I've seen 2 trailers for this. It really doesn't do a whole lot for me. It looks visually impressive, I will give it that. It definitely looks impressive from a cinematography and a directorial standpoint. Joaquin Phoenix looks like he's going to deliver a pretty solid performance. But here's a couple of my biggest issues with this movie. I do not think the Joker is a strong enough character to carry his own film, but I feel that way about any villain. I don't think they're strong enough to carry a feature film. I think it's going to keep my interest for half the movie, and then I'm going to lose it by the end of the film because I don't think there's enough there for a villain, no matter how strong they are, no matter how compelling they are, and no matter how many stories they've had. I don't think that they're compelling enough for a feature film. A miniseries, a short film, sure, but without the hero, I don't see it working. I don't see Venom didn't work without Spider-Man, and I don't see Joker working without Batman. That's just me personally. I don't think young Commissioner Gordon or whatever police chief is going to be going up against him is going to be compelling enough of an antagonist to really work. And I feel the same way about a hero. A superhero without a villain, I don't think that'll work either. Like, Joker and Batman are like yin and yang. You can't have one without the other to have an effective story. That's just how I feel about it. But also, Joaquin Phoenix doesn't seem like his Joker is differentiating himself nearly enough from Ledger. The only difference is he's got a different style of face paint and he's got different color clothes. Other than that, it's a very similar performance in terms of how he's portraying the Joker. Very serious in tone, and really doesn't have a focus on humor. And here's another problem I have with it. It seems like the plot is going to be, oh, poor Joker. Oh, he's a shitty comedian and he was embarrassed by Robert De Niro on live TV, so now he wants revenge. And I'm like, really? So your whole thing is the Joker sucks at comedy. He can't make people laugh except for kids who don't know any better. I just think that's a bad idea. I know it's a multiverse take on it, but I still think it's a bad idea. Taxi Driver Joker. So I'll just watch Taxi Driver. And then they're like, oh, well, you know, that's the point. They're going to make you sympathize with him, and it's going to make it more compelling. Actually, I think it's the opposite. Because I've seen this particular storyline done a million times about a psychopath. To me, it would be much more compelling if he was just a psycho. He's just fucking crazy. And there's no explanations for it. There's none of that. Nightcrawler is a great example of this. Nightcrawler, there's no explanations. He's a fucking sociopath. They're not trying to excuse him for his behavior. They're not trying to excuse Jake Gyllenhaal's character for his behavior. And it seems like they're going to try to do that here. Like, oh, society shat on him, and now he's going to try to give them a reason to laugh. And I'm just like, fuck that. But I'm like one of the only people in the world that's not really that impressed with the Joker trailers. I'll give the film a chance because I do think I still think it's going to be an interesting film. I just don't think I'm really going to care for it. But I'm going to give it a chance. I'm going to give it a fair shot. I'm not going to see it in the theater, but I'm going to get a fair shot when it comes out on home video. And speaking of home video, the new form of home video lately is Netflix or streaming platforms. And I want to give my quick thoughts on the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. I think is it Age of Resistance? A Dark Crystal prequel series that's going to be coming out. I think it looks great. It's got a lot of practical effects mixed in with just enough CGI. It's got a fantastic voice cast. Definitely looks like it's living up to the spirit of Dark Crystal. I'm looking forward to that one. So that's one that looks pretty impressive to me. So anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts on a whole slew of trailers. And I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, I will see you later. See ya.